you have any recollection of the Cobra Kai motto?
Yes, strike fast, strike hard, and no mercy.
You know, it kind of sounds like the new Viper 908.
Oh, yeah, but they use the roundhouse kick to the face for the FTIR and ramen.
Yeah, it's got smart spectral processing, so it kind of sweeps and reads the compound.
It doesn't have to beat the crap of any teenagers.
Makes it kind of boring. I like teenagers getting beat up. Even though it won't beat up a teenager, it's still pretty badass. It's kind of like having Mr. Miyagi in your corner.
Yeah, so check out the new champ at 908devices.com and give no mercy to Mystery Chemicals. And while we're on that, did you know in 2024, 138 hazmat responders in the U.S. were injured, and that is 138 too many. Your team's mission is clear. Do your job, do it well, and get everybody home safe.
138 too many. Are we sure? Like maybe there's somebody in there that deserved it. All right.
Either way,
if that's your goal, in order to do that, you need training that works in the real world, not just theory.
Work with the hazmat guys. We are a top rated by JM Powers 23, 24, and 25, and we're bringing thousands of hours of cutting edge equipment and fully customized programs built around your team and location.
It's 3 easy steps. You schedule a call. We tailor an incredible training program for your needs, and then you just execute the best in-class training on your turf.
Yeah, so Q4 is limited, so secure your team spot today.
I feel like we missed an opportunity to play halfway there. Because we're on DOT5. But anyway, before we get into that, we would like to remind you guys to look up the Hazard Class with Jake. Absolutely incredible podcast with some really in-depth interviews in both the hazmat, emergency services, and a little bit of fringe just outside the emergency services, yet somehow brings it all together. And as long as you're looking for new shows, check out Industrial Strength, a really kick-ass show. And I'm trying to recommend it to first responders because it's going to help you tie into the industry people whom you're going to be working with anyway when you get to a facility or a location. So check out the Industrial Strength show.
Yep. And the newsletter, short snippets, operations level, piped right into your skull. And if you can't get enough of it, the monthly happy hour is on the fourth Thursday of the month. And if you come on and you participate, then we'll enter you for a chance to the Southernmost Hazmat Conference, which is February 3 through 5, 2026 in Key West.
And there is some rumors out there that grants might continue at some point. We're still on hold with a lot of the stuff from last year. Politics aside, that's okay. If you want to get on our grant funding list, when things do actually finally drop, we'll be able to sit down with our in-grant house writers and figure out a game plan that works best for you.
Yeah, so check us out. We're going to be next time, I think, Virginia Hazmat Conference, Hot Zone, and NASPO. So looking forward.
Hey, you just came back from the Dangerous Goods Symposium, right?
About an hour ago.
How was that?
It was very good. Great people. I had a great time.
Do you think any of the hazmat first response world would get anything out of going to a conference like that?
I honestly struggled with that. I had a great time, met some different people, but I was like, they don't speak my language and I don't speak theirs. It was a very different. Their compliance. So all they do is cite laws and regulations. We're like, yeah, that looks right.
So they're like that DOT. All right, does it fit in this class? Can it be shipped with this? Is it packaged properly?
Right. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, placards. And we get there after the scene. It's destroyed into a million pieces. Which, if you happen to respond to a DOT Class 5, that is what we're going to be talking about today. Transportation incidences involving oxidizers and oxidizer peroxides. We are halfway through the DOT classes, a general explanation of them all. This one's going to be a relatively short one, even though I have to say that the idea of oxidizers and oxidizer peroxides Just those two topics alone could easily be a 4 to 8 hour class. So this little brief overview is literally just that. It's a little brief overview. There's a lot to learn about what is inside these Division 1.5 and Division 1.2s, which comprise mainly oxidizers in that 5.1 category and organic peroxides in the 5.2. And they both can have some dramatic effects on the scene. Many of the chemicals in and of themselves, outside of the organic peroxides, talking more about the oxidizers themselves, they don't do a whole lot to us as a whole. There's exceptions out there, so no angry keyboards like, oh, nitric oxide, whatever, I get it. But for the most part, the chemical themselves, the oxidizer portion does little. What it can do is intensify combustion and present an explosive hazard or a decomposition risk where you might normally not expect one to be. So there's us as first responders, we have to understand that this intensity fire and this unique situation has to both be mitigated and recognized before it gets out of hand.
Now, one of the ways you can kind of identify it is that you're going to have the division number and class, right? You're going to have the on the bottom part, and then you're going to have yellow for oxidizers and then red yellow for organic peroxides. It's like just straight yellow. I've also seen it. No, I'm thinking what is corrosives yellow and white, upper and lower? No.
I think I had to break out my ERG.
Oh, no.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Well, it doesn't matter. Look it up.
So,
that's your homework out there in podcast.
Yeah, tell us what the oxidizer looks like. We don't respond to this shit anymore.
I know what it is. Do you?
Yes. Yeah, you show us that you know what you're talking about. All right, so Division 5.1, we're going to focus a little bit on the oxidizing substances. There's a bunch of different definitions out there. If you haven't taken our oxidizer, our 4-hour oxidizer class, I highly recommend trying to get it into your department at some point because it's one of the least understood groups that are out there, yet is some of the most complicated. Like I can remember sitting through tech class, and I think it was breezed over. It's like, well, what's an oxidizer? Well, it's something that gives off oxygen. That's a very common thought process. And while it is technically correct for some chemicals, it is not a full big picture of what oxidizers are. Oxidizers tend to yield oxygen. They could, but if you look at something like chlorine is a very strong oxidizer, yet it does not yield oxygen. However, it does enhance and support combustion, which is kind of weird because we don't really think about oxidizers being combustible themselves, right? I think there's a video that we did years ago, right, Bob, where we took a balloon, we filled it with oxygen, although technically not a 5.1, and we put a match to it, and the latex popped, and nothing happened. There was no big boom or anything like that. Some of the chemicals that fall into this category would be ammonium nitrate, potassium permanganate, sodium nitrate, hydrogen peroxide, just regular pool chemicals like the sodium hypochlorite, not chlorine. And if you've ever had me in a class, you know that I love to use that one to fuck you guys up. Potassium bromate. And our oxidizers, these 5.1s, this is going to be the oxidizer symbol with the yellow background. So you're going to have the flaming O in the center of this big kind of yellow square.
Right. Now, what's our hazards? Well, this type of chemical can support or intensify existing fire by supplying additional oxygen, which is a high-risk move when you're kind of close to combustibles. And, reactions, they're probably going to be violent to fuels, to reducing agents, or heat. Hey, Mike, take a look around you and tell me how many lithium-ion batteries you have around you right now.
5 right here on my desk.
See, batteries are everywhere, and every department in the nation and, hell, the globe is starting to deal with battery fires on a regular basis.
And we are excited to tell you about a new product that's been proven to limit and control the battery fire propagation. It's from a brand called DeGeo, and they are chock full of hazmat experts who know that there is a better way for first responders to handle, store, and ship these at-risk lithium-ion batteries.
Yep, this product will solve your lithium-ion battery problems. It's lightweight, it works across all battery types, and we can say it lives up to the hype because we've actually tested it firsthand.
It's called ObexionFR, and it's part of a two-part system. The first part is a scientifically designed granular, and they pair that with a UN-certified paler drum. More importantly, ObexionFR is proven to reduce the toxic ideal H gases that are emitted when one of these batteries kick off. So all in all, it's going to help keep your team safe.
To check out more, go to thehazmatguys.dgeo.com. That's thehazmatguys.dgeo.
And as long as we're talking about batteries, we promised that we'd be looking into a solution for battery fires. And many companies have put their products in front of them, and many have been rejected by us. But there was one noteworthy one, because in our testing, it extinguished lithium-ion battery fires. But it's not a one-trick pony, right? It does multiple classes of fires. It also helps prevent fire from spreading and the lithium-ion batteries from reigniting.
And before that guy, I just saw a meme that was made for him on one of these alternate hazmat groups, and it was so good. I cannot wait for it to hit the public, because it'll land very good. But if before that guy starts writing to us, there are links in the show notes for UL Class A and B, as well as the BSI for 10 categories, including the lithium-ion batteries.
And we've actually put these things to the test. Like I said, we put out our own lithium-ion battery fires. I was personally impressed with the results, but we always suggest that you do your own myth busting. What's kind of cool about this product is it's a whole variety of different options, so it can integrate into whatever firefighting process you have. Check them out at Fire Suppression Solutions, or click on the link provided in the show notes. If you've ever been to a fire at a pool chemical store, or a taxpayer with one in, where you've got a couple of stores over that are burning, and suddenly it kind of gets to the pool chemical, and all of a sudden it's like a blowtorch. Right. That's because that fire hit the oxidizers, and that's part of the chemical and physical properties and the reaction potential of these kinds of chemicals. Strong oxidizers, really strong oxidizers, are going to react with organic materials, metals, reducing agents. When they do this, they produce heat, which is just going to add to the situation that's already happening. That heat can run into fire. If you're really unlucky, it can lead to an explosion. If all that happens is this product just decomposes, like let's say it doesn't catch on fire, it just gets really hot, it starts breaking apart, then the toxic gases that are released, or the gases that are released in that scenario, are extremely toxic. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation, no matter how you look at it.
Well, how would you take care of this? Well, that's my next spot here. Foreseen, all right, at the incident site, we're going to quickly establish the zones around the spill, or at least consider at least 50 meters or 150 feet in all directions for liquids, 75 feet for solids, etc. Right? Now, that prevents the movement of fire apparatus and people, or actually equipment, carrying combustibles into that zone. So, nice move.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot of times that we're walking into a fire scene with a 5-gallon bucket of diesel, but just in case, don't do it. There is also the thought, right? We understand that we need to keep the heat away from these guys, but a lot of times people don't think to use a hose stream or a fog curtain as a barrier in order to do that. And you can absolutely, many oxidizers are perfectly fine playing with water. Not all of them, so look them up, but they generally are good playing with water, and water shields make a phenomenal barrier to keep external heat sources or other fires from involving the oxidizers themselves. It's definitely a heads-up move. It does take up manpower and space, but if you can do it, do it.
Now, as far as the contamination, we want to do our best to prevent the cross contact. We don't want to allow dirt or debris or oils or fuels or organic material to mix with the oxidizer. So we want to use non-combustible tools like our beryllium alloy tools, and clean up and control the runoff to keep the spilled material from contacting trash, vegetation, or other wastes.
Now, contamination is any bit of organic material or anything that is not within that, like, I'm going to play nice category. And we often don't think that the tools and equipment that we're going to use to control a situation, we don't often think of them as contaminated going into a scene. But think about it. right? Like we have metal tools, rigs, Halligans, pipe wrenches, whatever. Even the drums that we carry, they're bouncing around on a rig. They're picking up road fumes, stuff from the air. They're sitting in a firehouse. Firehouses are dirty. Dust in and of itself can be a contaminant. So we have to, when we bring tools and equipment in, we have to kind of think of them as already contaminated. And we have to use uncontaminated, non-reactive things such as shovels, brooms, overpack containers that are going to be clean. We need to avoid the tools that could introduce heat, spark, and friction, which, you think about it, like the last time that shovel was used, it was used to pick up fuel and speedy dry on the side of the road. And somebody went back to the firehouse, they hosed it down real quick, but they didn't really clean it. Like, I wouldn't lick the shovel after one of the guys in the firehouse cleaned it by any stretch of the imagination. Why? Because there's shit on it and it's contaminated. So these are the little bits of contamination that when you have a very strong oxidizer can be an issue.
Right, and I think this goes without saying, but we don't want to smoke our stogies, right up there. No, but like even hot work, like cutting or welding, maybe you're near something like that, that if you have an oxidizer near it, that's all it needs.
Now, it's funny because you kind of rolled your eyes when you started saying this, but I don't know if you were you on scene in Queens many, many years ago, like 2005-ish time frame, wintertime, it was cold. We had the 406 turnover and light the entire BQE up in the northern part of Queens. That. Yeah. Were you there when the welders relit the scene up at about 10 o'clock at night with one of our guys in a Oh my God. So you'd say something like that and people are like, oh, well, of course, right? But think about welding and cutting as part of that do not do. And it just kind of sparked this memory. Hazmat was extremely opposed to the cutting and the welding of the bridge while we still had active fuel spill all over the place. So the command went, okay, well, we're going to make everybody happy. Take one of your entry guys, go in the bucket with the guys doing the welding and monitor for flammable vapors. And everyone was like, okay. We were still like, yeah, I don't really agree with this. Well, they went up in the bucket, they started welding, and I was maybe about 100 yards back, and I'm just watching this little piece of glowing slag just kind of fall, and when it hit the pavement, it lit the gasoline, and the three guys, one of our guys and two construction workers, were in this cherry picker like a goddamn marshmallow over a bonfire. It was absolutely incredible. The two workers jumped out of the bucket onto a beam and ran. And when they did that, it pushed the cherry picker back just a little bit, and our guy was stuck up there over this roaring street. So even though it makes total sense not to use cutting and welding, sometimes it has to be said. One of the things that we want to do is we want to decontaminate surfaces. So this is kind of like an afterwards thing, right? After, between the smoke, the toxic fumes, anything that could be done, we want to make sure that vehicle surfaces and clothings that came in contact with the oxidizer or even the smoke from the oxidizers are cleaned immediately with copious amounts of water. We don't want these kinds of materials kind of jammed in on us, mainly because think about it like this, right? From a firefighting point of view, our PPE is more than likely going to be bunker gear, right? Mm-hmm. Oxidizers, we tend to do bunker gear. Obviously, there's exceptions, right? Chemical physical properties always takes precedence. But now I've got this oxidizer material loaded into my bunker gear, which is already packed with carbon-based fuel, and now I could later be going into a hot environment. So now I've got an oxidizer, fuel, oxygen, and heat all on my person. That absolutely could be a bad idea. So any kind of oxidizer incident that you go to, clean your freaking gear the moment you can.
Now, we do recommend water or other non-reactive extinguishing agents. You can, unless it's water reactive, right? So that would be like 3 + 2 = 5. Okay. It is 5. That was so stupid. Okay. But cooling and dilution may reduce the hazard in transport releases. Now, consult your chemical properties for your specifics.
Now, some of the things that we kind of chatted about can be seen in a case study from the Texas City disaster. Now, we've done an entire podcast on the Texas City disaster. So go back in time, break out the wallet, become a premium member, listen to that show because it was absolutely phenomenal. All right. But the incident involved a cargo ship carrying ammonium nitrate. It was improperly packaged, it was contaminated, and it ended up starting to decompose. And due to the improper actions of the firefighters, they basically caused the entire ship to detonate, destroying most of the city, taking an airplane out of the sky, and killing the entire fire department. The failure to evacuate and improperly mitigate it contributed to this insane disaster.